The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon as Jack's car pulled into the driveway of the familiar suburban home he shared with his wife, Emma. A small smile tugged at the corners of his lips as he gathered his overnight bag, eager to surprise Emma with his early return from the business trip to Philadelphia. Jack had been away for 3 days, his mind consumed by meetings and negotiations, but all he could think about on the drive home was the warmth of Emma's embrace and the sound of her laughter. After so many years of marriage, the simple joys of being together still filled his heart with a profound sense of contentment. As he approached the front door, Jack paused, fishing out his keys from his pocket. A slight frown creased his brow as he noticed that the door was slightly ajar. Pushing it open, he stepped inside, his footsteps muffled by the plush carpet. "Emma?" he called out, his voice tinged with a hint of uncertainty. No response. Shrugging off his concerns, Jack made his way towards the bedroom, eager to surprise his wife. The door to the bedroom was partially open, and Jack gently pushed it further, a playful quip on the tip of his tongue. But the words died in his throat as his eyes landed on the scene before him. There, tangled in the sheets, was Emma, her legs intertwined with those of another man. A stranger to Jack, time seemed to slow to a crawl as he took in the tableau, his heart thundering in his ears. Emma's eyes were closed, a look of contentment etched on her features, while the other man, Daniel, as Jack would later learn, held her in an intimate embrace. Shock and disbelief flooded Jack's senses, rendering him momentarily paralyzed. How could this be happening? After all these years, all the dreams they had built together, how could Emma betray him in this way? Without a word, Jack backed out of the room, his world crashing down around him. The slamming of the front door as he fled the house was the only sound that punctuated the deafening silence that now permeated the once cherished sanctuary of his home. The drive away from the house was a blur, Jack's mind racing with a tumultuous mix of emotions, disbelief, betrayal, and a profound sense of heartbreak that threatened to consume him. How could Emma, the woman he had loved and trusted for so many years, do this to him? As he guided his car blindly through the winding streets, Jack's fingers gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. The sting of tears threatened to spill from his eyes, but he blinked them away, determined to maintain his composure, at least for the moment. Eventually, he found himself pulling into the familiar parking lot of his law office, the stark lighting and clinical atmosphere a jarring contrast to the emotional turmoil raging within him. Steeling himself, Jack strode through the doors, his steps purposeful, as he sought out the counsel of his trusted attorney Thomas. Thomas greeted him with a concerned frown, instantly sensing the distress etched upon Jack's features. With a deep breath, Jack recounted the events of the afternoon, his voice wavering only briefly as he described the shattering discovery in the bedroom. As Jack's story unfolded, Thomas listened intently, his brow furrowed in a pensive expression. When the architect had finished, the lawyer leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers thoughtfully. "I see," Thomas murmured, his tone measured and sympathetic. "This is a deeply complicated situation, Jack. I can only imagine the pain you must be feeling." Jack nodded, his gaze downcast as he braced himself for the difficult conversations to come. "What are my options here, Thomas? I need to know where I stand, legally and otherwise." The lawyer proceeded to outline the various avenues Jack could pursue, from divorce proceedings to the potential implications regarding the architectural firm he co-owned with his brother. As Jack listened, a flicker of relief passed across his features. At least the firm's assets were considered his separate property, a small comfort amidst the overwhelming turmoil. With a deep sigh, Jack thanked Thomas and rose from his seat, his steps heavy as he made his way back to his car. The road ahead was undoubtedly fraught with challenges, but in that moment, he knew he had to confront the truth head-on, no matter how painful the process might be. Meanwhile, back at the house, Emma had emerged from the bedroom, her mind racing as she tried to piece together what had transpired. The realization that Jack had returned home early and discovered her infidelity sent a wave of dread washing over her. She paced the living room, her fingers trembling as she contemplated the impending consequences of her actions. The next morning, Jack found himself standing on the doorstep of the home he had once shared with Emma, his heart heavy with the weight of the impending confrontation. He had spent a restless night, his mind a whirlwind of emotions, but he knew he could no longer avoid the difficult conversation that lay before him. Taking a deep breath, Jack raised his hand and knocked firmly on the door. It wasn't long before the sound of footsteps approached, and the door swung open to reveal Emma, her eyes red-rimmed and her expression a mix of trepidation and guilt. "Jack," she uttered, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't expect you to come back so soon." "Clearly," Jack replied, his tone laced with a barely contained bitterness. "May I come in? We need to talk." Emma hesitated for a moment, then stepped aside, allowing Jack to enter the familiar foyer. The air between them was thick with tension, the silence palpable as they made their way to the living room. "Emma," Jack began, his gaze meeting hers with a pained intensity, "I want you to tell me everything. What happened? How long has this been going on?" Emma faltered, her fingers trembling as she wrung her hands. It started a few months ago. I never meant for it to go this far, Jack. I'm so sorry." Jack felt a sharp pang in his chest, the betrayal cutting deeper than he could have imagined. "Sorry?" he echoed, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Do you have any idea how much this has destroyed me?" "I know, Jack," Emma replied, her eyes brimming with tears. "I know I've hurt you, and I can't even begin to tell you how guilty I feel. But I want you to know that I still love you. I never stopped loving you." Jack let out a humorless laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. "Love? How can you say that after what you've done?" He paused, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. "Emma, I need to know, is there any chance we can salvage this? Can we work through this?" Emma's gaze dropped to the floor, her expression torn. I don't know, Jack. I wish I could give you a clear answer, but the truth is, I'm not sure. I've betrayed your trust, and I don't know if that can ever be repaired." The weight of her words seemed to settle like a heavy burden on Jack's shoulders. He ran a hand through his hair, his brow furrowed in deep contemplation. "Then I think we need to start considering our options," he said, his voice tinged with resignation. "I've spoken to Thomas, and he's advised me on the legal implications. I want us to be able to move forward, one way or the other, with a clear understanding of where we stand." Emma nodded, her gaze finally meeting Jack's. "I understand. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to try and make this right, even if that means..." She trailed off, the unspoken words hanging in the air between them. The two sat in uneasy silence, each lost in their own thoughts, as they grappled with the uncertain future that lay before them. In the days that followed their confrontation, the news of Emma's infidelity began to spread, casting a pall over Jack's professional and personal life. As the co-owner of a successful architectural firm, he found himself the subject of whispered rumors and sidelong glances from his colleagues and clients. Seeking solace, Jack turned to his trusted secretary, Olivia, who had been a steadfast support throughout his career. One afternoon, as he sat in his office, lost in thought, Olivia knocked gently on the door and entered. "Jack," Olivia said, her voice soft and sympathetic. I heard about what happened. I'm so sorry." Jack looked up, his eyes weary. "Thank you, Olivia. I appreciate your concern. If there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to let me know," Olivia offered, her brow creased with worry. "I know this must be an incredibly difficult time for you." Jack managed a small, rueful smile. "It is, Olivia. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this." He paused, his gaze drifting to the framed photographs on his desk. "Happier times with Emma, before everything had fallen apart." "I can only imagine," Olivia replied, her voice laced with empathy. "But please know that you don't have to go through this alone. I'm here for you, Jack, in any way I can be." Jack nodded, feeling a small measure of comfort in Olivia's unwavering support. "Thank you. It means more than you know." As their conversation drew to a close, Jack's mind turned to another unexpected development, a call he had received earlier that day from an unexpected source. Lily, Daniel's wife. Steeling himself, Jack placed the call, his heart racing with trepidation. When Lily's voice echoed through the receiver, he was surprised to hear not anger, but a deep sense of sorrow. "Jack," Lily began, her voice trembling, I don't even know how to say this, but I'm so sorry. I had no idea about any of this, and I can't even begin to imagine how you must be feeling." Jack was taken aback by the genuine remorse in Lily's tone. "Lily, I'm not sure what to say. This must be incredibly difficult for you as well." "It is," Lily admitted, "but I want you to know that I'm here for you, Jack. I know we've never been particularly close, but I feel like I need to do something, anything, to try and make this right." Jack's brow furrowed in confusion. "Make this right? Lily, this isn't your fault. I know, but I can't help but feel responsible in some way," Lily replied, her voice laced with guilt. "Maybe there's something I can do to help you through this, or at least to make things a little easier." Jack was silent for a moment, touched by Lily's unexpected compassion. I appreciate that, Lily. Truly, I'm not sure what the future holds, but knowing that I have your support means more than you know." As Jack hung up the phone, he couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. Perhaps, in the midst of this heartbreaking ordeal, there were still pockets of kindness and understanding to be found. In the weeks that followed the revelation of Emma's affair, Jack found himself grappling with a profound sense of displacement. The life he had once known, the future he had envisioned, had been irrevocably shattered, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty. As he navigated the practical and emotional aspects of separating from Emma, Jack began to confront the deep-seated questions that had long been buried beneath the surface of his marriage. Who was he, beyond the role of husband and architectural partner? What did he truly want out of life, now that the foundation upon which he had built his identity had crumbled? These questions haunted him, keeping him awake at night as he lay in the unfamiliar confines of his temporary apartment. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the occasional hum of traffic outside and the echoes of his own troubled thoughts. One evening, as Jack sat alone in the dimly lit living room, nursing a glass of whiskey, the weight of his circumstances threatened to overwhelm him. In a moment of raw vulnerability, he found himself reaching for his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed Olivia's number. "Olivia," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I need to talk to someone. I'm not doing very well." Olivia's response was immediate, her concern palpable. "Jack, of course. I'm here. What's going on?" Jack took a deep, steadying breath, his eyes stinging with unshed tears. "I feel like I'm losing myself, Olivia. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, my future, it's all been turned upside down. I don't even know who I am anymore." "Oh, Jack, Olivia murmured, her heart itching for her employer and friend. I can't even begin to imagine how difficult this must be for you. But please, know that you don't have to go through this alone. I'm here, and I'll do whatever I can to support you. Jack swallowed hard, the warmth of Olivia's compassion a lifeline in the midst of his turbulent emotions. I don't know what I'd do without you, Olivia. You've been a constant in my life, and I'm so grateful for that. And I always will be, Olivia assured him, her voice steady and reassuring. We'll get through this, Jack, one step at a time. I promise you, you're not going to lose yourself. You're going to rediscover who you are, and I'll be by your side every step of the way. Jack felt a glimmer of hope take root in his heart, the weight on his shoulders suddenly a little lighter. Thank you, Olivia. I don't know what I'd do without you. As the call ended, Jack sat back in his chair, his gaze drawn to the empty space beside him. The road ahead was undoubtedly long and arduous, but with Olivia's unwavering support, he knew that he had the strength to navigate the uncertain path before him, and perhaps even rediscover the essence of who he truly was. The decision to separate had been a difficult one, but as Jack and Emma sat across from each other in the living room, they both knew that it was the necessary next step on their painful journey. Emma's gaze was downcast, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her sweater. I understand if you want to move out, Jack. I know I've betrayed your trust, and I don't expect you to just forgive me for that. Jack nodded, his expression somber. You're right, Emma. I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you for what you've done. He paused, taking a deep breath. But I also think we owe it to ourselves to at least try and navigate this separation with as much compassion and understanding as possible. Emma looked up, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I agree. I know I don't deserve it, but I hope we can still find a way to be civil, for both our sakes. For both our sakes, and for the sake of our future, Jack added, his gaze meeting hers with a hint of resolution. We need to figure out how to move forward, whether that means reconciling or going our separate ways. Emma nodded, her expression pained. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Jack. I know I've caused you so much pain, and I can only hope that one day, you might be able to forgive me. Jack reached across the coffee table, his hand covering hers in a gesture that spoke volumes. We'll take it one day at a time, Emma. That's all we can do. The days that followed were filled with the practical challenges of dividing their shared life. Jack carefully packed his belongings, his movements methodical as he tried to maintain a sense of detachment. But as he surveyed the once familiar spaces, memories of happier times threatened to overwhelm him. One afternoon, as he was sorting through the contents of his closet, Emma appeared in the doorway, her expression etched with a mixture of regret and uncertainty. Jack, she said, her voice trembling slightly, I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for everything. Jack paused, his hands stilling on the stack of shirts he had been folding. I know, Emma. I know you are. I never meant to hurt you, you know, Emma continued, her gaze pleading. I got lost somewhere along the way, and I made a terrible mistake. Jack nodded, his lips pressed into a thin line. We both did, Emma. We both lost sight of what was truly important. An uneasy silence settled between them, the weight of their shared history palpable in the air. Finally, Emma spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. Where do we go from here, Jack? Jack took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers with a newfound resolve. I don't know, Emma, but we'll figure it out, one step at a time. As Jack resumed his packing, the sense of finality in his actions was palpable. The life he had once known was slipping through his fingers, and he was left to navigate the uncharted waters of a future without Emma by his side. As the weeks turned into months, Jack found himself slowly piecing together the fragments of his life, like a complex puzzle slowly coming into focus. The separation from Emma had been difficult, but with Olivia's unwavering support and his own determination to move forward, he had begun to rediscover a sense of purpose and identity. One afternoon, as Jack sat in his office, lost in thought, Olivia knocked on the door and entered, a gentle smile on her face. "Jack," she said, her voice soft and reassuring. "Do you have a moment?" Jack looked up, returning her smile with a nod. "Of course, Olivia. What is it?" Olivia stepped closer, her expression thoughtful. "I've noticed that you've been seeming a bit more at peace lately. I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing." Jack considered her words for a moment, a wistful smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "You know, Olivia, I think I'm actually doing better than I've been in a long time." "I'm so glad to hear that, Jack," Olivia replied, her eyes sparkling with genuine warmth. "You've been through so much, but it seems like you're starting to find your way again." Jack nodded, his gaze drifting to the framed photographs on his desk, a few cherished images that had survived the separation. "It hasn't been easy, that's for sure, but I've come to realize that I needed this time to rediscover who I am, beyond the role of husband and business partner." Olivia listened intently, her expression one of understanding. "And what have you discovered, Jack?" Jack paused, his eyes meeting hers with a newfound sense of clarity. "That I'm still the same person I've always been, passionate about my work, driven to make a difference, and someone who values the people in his life, like you, more than anything else." Olivia felt a surge of emotion, her heart swelling with pride and affection for the man before her. "Jack, that's wonderful to hear. I'm so proud of you for finding your way back to yourself." Jack reached across the desk, grasping Olivia's hand with a gentle squeeze. "And I couldn't have done it without you, Olivia. You've been a constant source of support and strength, and I don't know where I'd be without you." Olivia felt a blush rise to her cheeks, her expression softening. "You don't have to thank me, Jack. I care about you, and I'll always be here for you, no matter what." The two shared a moment of comfortable silence, the weight of their shared experience forging an unbreakable bond between them. Finally, Jack spoke again, his voice tinged with a newfound sense of optimism. "You know, Olivia, I think I'm ready to start exploring new possibilities, both in my personal and professional life. I feel like I've found my footing again, and I'm eager to see what the future holds." Olivia nodded, her eyes shining with encouragement. "I'm here with you every step of the way, Jack. Whatever you decide, I'll support you." As Jack smiled and turned his attention back to the stack of papers on his desk, he couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of purpose and excitement. The road ahead may not be an easy one, but with Olivia by his side and a newfound appreciation for the journey itself, he was confident that he could navigate the challenges that lay in store. As the months passed, Jack found himself embracing the newfound freedom and opportunity that lay before him. The decision to separate from Emma had been a difficult one, but it had also served as a catalyst for personal growth and self-discovery. With Olivia's steadfast support, Jack had carefully restructured his life, navigating the legal and financial implications of the separation with a steady hand. Though the process had been arduous, he had emerged from it with a renewed sense of purpose and direction. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Jack sat in his office, he found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this point. The pain of betrayal and the uncertainty of the unknown had once seemed overwhelming, but now he could see the glimmer of hope and possibility on the horizon. A soft knock on the door interrupted his reverie, and Jack looked up to see Olivia standing in the doorway, a warm smile on her face. "Jack," she said, her voice gentle. "Do you have a moment?" Jack gestured to the chair across from him, his own lips curling into a smile. "Of course, Olivia. Please, come in." Olivia settled into the chair, her gaze meeting Jack's with a hint of apprehension. I wanted to talk to you about something. Something important." Jack's brow furrowed slightly, but he nodded, silently encouraging her to continue. "Well, you see, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately," Olivia began, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her blouse. "And I've realized that my feelings for you have grown beyond just that of an employee and friend." Jack felt his heart skip a beat, his eyes widening with surprise. "Olivia, Olivia raised a hand, cutting him off. "Please, let me finish. I know this may come as a shock, but I've fallen in love with you, Jack. And I understand if you don't feel the same way, but I needed you to know." For a moment, Jack was rendered speechless, his mind racing with a flurry of emotions. But as he looked into Olivia's eyes, he saw the vulnerability and sincerity that had always been a part of her, and he felt something within him shift. "Olivia," he said softly, reaching across the desk to gently take her hand. I don't know what to say. This is unexpected, to say the least." Olivia's expression faltered, a flash of disappointment crossing her features. "I understand, Jack. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like this. I just—" "Wait," Jack interrupted, his grip tightening around her hand. I think I feel the same way, Olivia. I just never allowed myself to acknowledge it, not until now." Olivia's eyes widened, a glimmer of hope igniting within them. "Jack, are you sure? I don't want you to feel pressured or—" "I'm sure, Olivia," Jack replied, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "You've been by my side through everything, and I can't imagine my life without you in it, not anymore." As the two shared a moment of profound connection, Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and trepidation about the future that lay before them. The road ahead would undoubtedly be filled with challenges, but with Olivia by his side, he knew that he was ready to embrace the possibilities that awaited him. As the story of Jack and Olivia's journey comes to a close, one can't help but wonder, what lessons can we take from their experiences? How do we navigate the complexities of love, betrayal, and self-discovery in our own lives? The path to healing and growth is rarely a straightforward one, but Jack and Olivia's story reminds us that with resilience, compassion, and a willingness to embrace the unknown, we can emerge from even the most trying circumstances stronger and more deeply connected to ourselves and those we hold dear. If you've been inspired by Jack and Olivia's story, we encourage you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your perspectives could help others who are grappling with similar challenges, and together, we can continue to learn and grow. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share this video. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring more stories that resonate with the human experience.